Well, welcome back to another episode of the Cruise Conversations podcast. I'm Frank.
And I'm Michael.
And today's episode is episode number 101, and we're sitting down with Jessica, Ed, and Hailey to do a review of their recent 7-night World America cruise. Let's jump into it. Well, today we've got Ed, Jessica, and Hailey. They've been podcast listeners. They reached out. They were interested in coming on and doing a review of the brand new MSC World America. They just got off 7 nights, World America Eastern Caribbean cruise with some really cool ports. So super excited to dive into that. But first of all, Ed, Jessica, and Hailey, welcome onto the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Excited to be on.
Before we go through the cruise, because we're really excited to hear about your cruise, we just want to let everyone get to know you a little bit. So let's talk through high level. Why do you guys enjoy traveling, and what kind of motivates you to get out there and travel?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually travel for work. I'm a flight attendant, so I'm gone a lot of traveling. But we love traveling cruises because it gives us a chance to spend some quality family time together, to explore new places and to disconnect. Typically when we go, we don't get the internet, and we kind of spend that time that we a lot of times don't get at home together on the ships.
Yeah, and for me, I've always loved traveling, and we are a blended family, so we don't get the amount of quality time that a regular family has. So this is like a really good time for us to just tune everything out and really connect with each other.
That's awesome. It sounds like you guys do get to travel a lot. And so make sure we're going to put their Instagram handles in the description. Go follow along. They have some really cool content out there on their travels. So make sure you go give them a like and a follow as well. So let's talk about how many cruises have you been on? I think a lot of times with the World America, a lot of people are wondering, how does it compare to the Icon of the Seas and to some of their other ships in the fleet? So let us know. Yeah. How many cruises have you guys been on so far?
So we've been on approximately 25 cruises. We actually, it's a strange kind of story. We just started cruising in March of 23. So we've only been cruising for 2 years. Yeah. We've been on, Jessica and I, 25. I think Haley's been on 15, about 15 cruises. And we've pretty much been on all the major lines. We've been on, Carnival, Norwegian, Virgin, what else? Celebrity, Royal. So we've been on pretty much every cruise out there.
That's crazy, especially getting to see all of that. And like you said, it's like about a 2-year span so far.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of those lines we haven't even seen yet.
Yeah. No, we're going to have to dive into. We may have to do some more interviews with you guys to hear about some of those other cruises. But today we'll focus just on this one for sure.
Yeah, we're super lucky. It makes it easy. We're local to South Florida, so it's an hour drive to the port, so it makes it pretty easy to hop on a weekend cruise.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that prior to our very first cruise, we didn't think we were even gonna love cruising that much because, like I said, we're pretty active. All our vacations used to be around like mountain biking and active stuff, and we had this mindset that cruising was just gonna be for someone who likes drinking and eating and just lounging by the pool. But then we took our first cruise, and it was a complete
Mind shift. Yeah, I mean, we fell in love with cruising.
All right, well, let's jump into this cruise itself now. So like you said, you're about an hour away from the cruise port. First off, what made you end up choosing the MSC World America and this itinerary?
So of course it's MSC's, biggest, newest ship. So that was enticing us right from the start. But I think a lot of people don't know, and what we found out is that MSC is one of the cruise lines that they consider kids to be kids until they're 17. Most of the other cruise lines, I think it's 12 when they do that shift. So they were running the promo, kids sail free. So we were able to get the World America for a great price.
That is crazy. Like you mentioned, I mean, if you're under 12 on Royal and a lot of times the other cruise lines, you get to go for free, but it sounds like Hailey is beyond that point. So that was probably an enticing factor for you to hop on board and get that third guest free. So like you mentioned, you live in South Florida. How was that commute to the cruise port? And then once you got to the port of Miami, how was that embarkation process compared to the other 24 cruises that you've been on in the past?
Well, we live about an hour from South Beach, but it took us about 2 hours because we always find a little bit of traffic once we get closer to the port.
typically the ride down is not that bad. Like Jessica said, you always hit some traffic, so we always give ourselves some extra time. Typical time 2 hours, and we're lucky. My dad lives across the street from us, so he gives us a drive down
Nice.
to the port, so we don't have to pay the parking
He's
fees
the
down in Miami.
designated Uber driver.
Yes, he's a designated Uber driver.
Now, tell us a little about the terminal itself. I know the terminal is brand new. What did you think of the terminal? How much of it was open at the time? I know I heard like some of it kind of opened a little bit later, but what did you think of this brand new terminal?
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, first of all, it's huge. I mean, normally when you check in, you kind of have that one lane of traffic and everybody's trying to get off the boat and get on the boat. The whole area for luggage drop off and for drop offs, it's I think 4 lanes.
It's pretty,
It's like, yeah,
pretty
it's like 4 lanes, but like two sides.
It's 4 lanes wide, both sides, and it's probably about 100 yards long. So it's
Oh, wow.
very easy. I mean, you drive up, you pull into a spot, you drop your stuff. They really streamline the process of drop offs and pickups. So it was great.
We can say that compared to the very first time, that was actually MSC was the first line that we cruised with as a family. And that very first cruise was there was a little bit of a bottleneck just coming in, so they ironed out that whole process, and it was a really smooth check-in.
Yeah, when you first so after you get dropped off and you give your luggage, they streamlined it all. I mean, the facial recognition in the new terminal, it's amazing. You walk in, you scan your passport, they take a photo of you, and you're through. And it took about what, less than 15 minutes to get from
It
the
was really
car,
smooth.
Yeah.
the car to the ship.
That's awesome. No, I love that. I mean, that starts your vacation off great when you're not feeling like you're waiting. You're just kind of moving. You're walking. You get on board. I mean, that's what everyone wishes the experience is like when they get on their cruise. So now you're on board. You walk on the MSC World America, their brand new ship. What were your first impressions of the ship, and kind of what was those first things you did when you got on board?
And we laughed because it was really funny. You like you said, you go through like the check-in process, and you're going through the walkway, and everybody's excited because we've been to so many cruises. We just kind of have this expectation to walk into this grand like promenade
Music.
with music and DJs and people welcoming you. And as you walk into the ship, you find yourself in a little brown hallway.
Yeah.
Was pretty shocking, didn't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, they bring you on when we got on. They bring you on towards the front of the ship in about 3 hallways that leads to the what do they call it? The World Gallery or the World Gallery. So the main area of the ship. But
Yeah.
your first impression, you don't have that big open sprawling space. You're just in a bunch of tight hallways. So it's a little different from when they bring you right into the main atrium area or the main area of the ship.
I remember seeing a vlog and I was thinking the same thing. I was like, when you go on Icon, you walk in, you see the Pearl, you come into the promenade, and then I was thinking that would be similar to, on World America, where it's like you walk in and you can see this beautiful 3-story tall promenade. But yeah, when I saw the videos, I was like, oh my gosh, you really are kind of being like on this back hallway type thing. It's not like a big like moment. It's just like, okay, here you are. Then you take a left and but that's a great like that people can actually hear that and understand like. It takes a minute to get there, but then you can see how beautiful that main area is of the ship.
Yeah, once you get through the hallway, then you see, the ship in all of its glory and you're in the main area. But I think they do it just to be able to route people, to keep it from getting congested. It's kind of like, okay, we're going to follow you through and put you into the open space rather than have everybody get there and stop and cause a traffic jam.
All right, so y'all made it to the World Galleria now. What did you guys end up doing first once you, like you said, got through the hallways?
What were we doing first? I feel like what was this, like the second or the third sailing?
Third sailing.
The third sailing.
Yeah.
So I feel like everybody that was there had this like energy, right? Because they build up the cruise so much, so you could actually feel everybody being very excited and looking around. And to me, it almost looked like a mall, right? They had like several decks. You can see the shops, the place where you get the ice cream. It's really, really nice.
Little
restaurants, yeah.
Yeah, so we kind of our typical thing is we drop the bags off at the room. Usually they're not ready yet, so we put our bags in the room and then we head out to the buffet. So that's actually what we did again on this one. We kind of looked around a little bit, dropped our bags, and headed up to grab some food.
So I feel like we have a tradition, which is nobody really has breakfast until they get there. Which sometimes is not the best decision because we get there and we're so hungry. But it's just a fun little thing that we do.
Yeah, so we got on, we grabbed some food, and of course, the buffets are always busy on embarkation day, and but it wasn't crazy. There wasn't like an overwhelming crowd. They do a really good job with crowd control.
That's an MSC thing, right? You getting to drop your bags off at the room. A lot of the other cruise lines, you don't get to do that.
Yeah, a lot of them they keep those doors, like the doors closed to the hallways of the rooms until a certain time. But MSC they usually don't give a hard time about dropping the bags off.
That's super nice. I hate having to lug my back, even the backpack. I always drop my big stuff, but getting to drop your backpack off in the room, it's just is so much nicer because we load up our backpacks with gear and
Yep.
like just everything that you need for that first day. And so it's nice to be able to do that. So you mentioned you dropped your stuff off at your room. What kind of room did you guys end up booking, and what were your first thoughts of this room that you booked?
Yeah, so originally, so we're Diamond with MSC. So typically we book an interior guarantee, and the reason for that is I would say 90% of the time we get an upgrade to a balcony. So we couldn't book the guarantee because we had four people in the room. It was Hailey and our son Ethan as well. So we booked an interior room. And then the upgrade emails came out, and we bid on one of the Infinity View balcony, the new one with the big
Yeah.
window. That's the wall. We were excited to see that. So, and we bid low. We bid $150 on the upgrade. So we wound up getting the upgrade to the Infinity View, the Infinite View, and then because we were a Diamond, when we got that, they then upgraded us to deluxe ocean view balcony. So in the end, we had a deluxe ocean view.
That's a good thing to know. I know on my seashore sailing, I didn't do a guarantee. We did an interior where you like picked the room. And leading up to the cruise on the Facebook group, you saw a lot of people saying, hey, we got upgraded the balconies for free. Most everyone was getting upgraded for free, but it was the ones that had selected guarantees that were upgraded. So me
Interesting.
doing the pick in the room, I never heard anything.
That's
I was
so
a little
weird.
jealous for the week.
Yeah, that's kind of what we learned. If you pick your room, typically the you don't get the upgrade. It goes to when you do the guarantee.
And it's because you think that it's because if you pick that room, they're assuming that that is the exact room that you want and they don't want to mess your plans.
Which does make sense.
Yeah,
at the
no,
end of
I
the
get
day.
that. I mean, that's true, right? You could get a balcony room underneath like the pool deck, and if I was assigned that, I'd be like, man, maybe I wish I was in like a quieter, like you don't really know till you get on the ship how loud a room will be, but you can kind of pick your room based on the deck. So that is like I guess rolling the dice that you do when you book a guarantee. But that's a pretty interesting point, though.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
going a little bit off topic, but kind of piggybacking out of what you're saying, you did mention that the ship seemed a little loud, right? Like the acoustics in the ship.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of soft areas to the ship, so everything's marble and chrome, and it's very elegant and luxurious, but there's not a lot of carpet or like soft areas, so everything echoes and the ship just seems very loud.
But nothing out of control. It's
No,
just
nothing out of
louder
control.
than what we're used to.
So yeah, that makes sense. Now that we know that you had the deluxe ocean view balcony, what were your thoughts on this room and kind of based on what you've seen previously from MSC, were there any things that they did differently with this room on the World America?
Yeah, so we had a room, I believe it was 10240. So we were on the 10th floor towards the rear of the ship. And it was a great room. I mean, everything's brand new. Tons of outlets. They have USB-Cs by the bed, and just a ton of it's the typical MSC room.
Yeah, storage was pretty good. You did say that it felt a little bit narrower. We like to come in and kind of like do a room and hang the magnets on the wall and put like the shoe storage so we
Yeah.
can put our little things that are easily accessible. And you did say that that was a little bit more complicated. The bathroom was roomy for a ship. Hailey noticed that.
Yeah.
There's no like your butt didn't have to bump against the
Yeah.
door of the shower. And the closets were great. Like we thought it was a pretty nice room.
Yeah, it was. I would say it's comparable to the seascape or seashore. It's the same kind of layout. You have the hard or the hard shower door, so you don't have the curtain. You have a storage closet, the bed. We had a couch that turned into a bunk bed for the kids, and then you had a small patio, and the patio had two chairs and two footrests. It was small, and I would say overall the room was a little bit smaller than seascape or seashore. Um, when you first come in the room, you typically have maybe 2 or 3 feet of space between the cabin door and the door for the bathroom. So on this one, there's no space, so you can't open the doors. You couldn't open the bathroom door and get out of the room. So it's a
Okay.
very tight squeeze, and we typically put one of the shoe hangers on the bathroom door, and
Gotcha.
it was kind of tough because the room door would actually hit that if you had it there.
Not only the room, we actually also bumped into somebody in the hallways to the room, and they were saying to each other that the hallways felt a little bit more narrow, especially for such big shit.
Big ship, yeah. So yeah, I think it was a little bit smaller as the rooms, and the hallways were a little more narrow.
That must be the thing, trying to squeeze more rooms on the ships as they get bigger, and then just to give more space around the ship. That something has to get a little smaller. So I guess it's our rooms.
Yeah, yeah. But it wasn't an inconvenience. It wasn't like it was barely noticeable, but just something. If you've been on a lot of cruises, you would notice it.
Well, let's move into Sail Away now. What did you guys end up doing for Sail Away on the sailing? Were they doing anything up by the main pool deck? Was it kind of the Sail Away in the World Galleria? Where did you guys end up going for Sail Away?
Yeah. So actually, this one's kind of funny because I believe it was about maybe 1 o'clock when we got on, and we had an early dinner time. So our dinner time was 5:30, and they had a rough night the night before, so they were kind of tired.
Yeah.
So they kind of rested in the room, and I roamed around the ship, got my bearings, got our spa pass taken care of. And then by that time, it was kind of time to get dressed and ready for dinner already. So the sail away, we didn't really get to partake much in it, but we heard all the festivities, and it sounded like a great time.
No, that's a really good point too. For those that book the early time, I definitely prefer having the earlier dining or the late dining. I'm not a big fan of like my time, especially I think Carnival does a better job with it, but on Royal you like are kind of waiting in a queue most nights. I prefer early or late, so sometimes I'll go with early, and you do get cut short of that sail away party. So it's a trade-off, but then you have the rest of your night to go party and do whatever you want, which is kind of what I like. And then I usually eat more throughout the day, like after dinner, because I'm up later, do more like less of a bigger meal, but kind of like, okay, I'll eat smaller and then maybe eat pizza or something later on.
Then you go to the buffet to see what they're serving there and grab your second dessert there.
Yeah, exactly. But let's talk a little bit more about the ship later. We have a lot of questions about the World America, but your first stop was Puerto Plata. So what did you guys end up doing here? Did you have a plan, any excursions, or did you just kind of get off the ship and roam around?
We did. So we've been to Puerto Plata several times, and it's a beautiful port. We love it. We love the lazy river. Do you like the pool?
Yeah, I like the
You like the pool. And the best thing is that it's free for cruisers. But this time we had booked a shore excursion. We did the Damahagua Falls, where you basically go and visit the falls and jump from the waterfalls and slide down the natural rock slides. And then it was a combo excursion where we did zip lines too. And I want to mention the company because they were so great to us.
Yeah.
It's called Country World Adventures, and it's a family-owned company.
Yeah, they definitely took good care of us. The owner Daniel, it's been in his family forever, and they did a great job. Like the pickup, they were there waiting for us.
And it's important to say that they were not associated with the cruise line, so we had to actually walk out of. And it's if you've been there, it's a very big port, so we had to walk all the way out. Have you ever walked out of the port? Have you ever been in the port?
Yeah, one of my last cruises, I did an excursion outside of the cruise line too in Puerto Plata, and I remember I think you had to kind of walk like up a hill, right, and like
Yeah.
down towards a bridge or something.
And then did you find all the locals trying to sell you stuff there?
I think they like some of them were stationed along the way, but we too had already pre-booked it, so I was just like, no, like I'm already booked,
I
but
know.
thank you.
They're pretty animated, so you kind of have to be like stern at telling them like you don't want to do anything with them and you've already pre-booked. So we met our contact there, and then they took us to the falls.
Yeah, they walk you out to a little coach bus. I think there was about 16 or 18 people from
Okay.
World America that were doing the tour, and they take you to their little ranch, and then they drive you to the waterfalls, the Damahagua, and you get to jump off waterfalls, slide down the natural rock faces. You swim down a little river, so it's a great tour.
Let's not forget the hour-long hike.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
You got to go up to be able to slide down, right?
Yeah, so the first hike takes 45 minutes to an hour.
And it was a rainy day. Yeah, tell them about the rain.
It was raining, and then like all the dirt was like getting all over your shoes. So you have to make sure you bring water shoes too.
Oh yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
So two sets of shoes, one for the hike and then one for the sliding and swimming, or just wear one pair the whole time, you think?
No, so either wear like a heavy duty pair of water shoes, because the hike up, you're on all rocks, and if you have Jessica rented a pair, and they were like ballerina slippers, super thin. So all the rocks were poking through and jabbing her the whole hike up.
But it's okay. It was beautiful. It was completely worth it. It made for a really great story.
Yeah. But you can either wear an old pair of sneakers or like a heavier duty pair of water shoes, and that works great.
But the waterfalls is a must do because it's just such a natural, beautiful natural wonder.
I have a cruise booked right now. I don't know if we're still going to go on it. It's a refundable, but it goes to Puerto Plata, and this is the thing that we're looking at. It was the one that I found was like the 7 waterfalls, but it was probably like a similar thing where they take you and the hike was mentioned. So I'll look up the one that you recommended since it comes with high regard. But no, it looks insane. It looks
I think
really
it's
beautiful.
the same one.
Yeah, it is. It's the 7 waterfalls. And we actually learned something super interesting when we were there years ago. We jumped from the first waterfall, and when we got there, we were like, "Wow, this kind of looks familiar, but why are we not jumping off of it?" And the guide was telling us that the water levels have been low for about 4 years now, so they can no longer jump off the first waterfall.
Okay.
Wow, interesting.
But yeah, so after the waterfalls, they took us back to their ranch, and they set us up for zip lining. So we did the two-part combo. It was the perfect. I think if you did more than that in one day, you wouldn't have enough time.
Yeah.
So we zip lined 5 zip lines.
They gave us more because we had more time.
We had extra time.
They gave us like 7 then.
7 zip lines.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting because I'll let the girls tell this story, but there's a story about a horse. So who wants to take that?
So Dominicans, we have found that they joke a lot. So when the guides were giving us the instructions and kind of like the rundown of what was going to happen, they say, this is going to be the last waterfall, the last
Zip line.
the longest zip line, right? And then he says, I'm not going to joke with you, but you're not going to make it. And we're like, okay. You're going to get stuck right in the middle. And we're like, okay. But then there's going to come a horse is going to come, and he's going to grab you and let you help you finish the zip line. And we're thinking this is a joke until we come to the zip line. And Hailey's the first one, which is the lightest one. They throw her down the zip line, and what happens?
And the horse comes like out of the bushes, and like there's like a guy on the horse, and he grabs like the rope, and he like puts it like around my leg and then like brings me to the end of the zip line.
He pulls her to the end of the zip line.
Yeah, so
Wow.
it was just really funny because the guy's like, so when you get down, you're gonna get stuck, and a horse is gonna pop out of the trees, and then he nibbles, but he doesn't bite. Like, and we're thinking, oh, this is all a joke until it actually happened. So it was pretty funny.
But
That's
completely
awesome.
safe.
Yeah.
How was that zip lining? Did you guys feel like it? I've done a lot of zip lining. Some of them are great. Some of them are like, oh, this is kind of boring. I could have done without it. Like, was it pretty good? Did you feel like it was worth the time and the money to go do that?
I have to be honest, the horse was the highlight of the zip line. I think that whole section made the whole zip line trip worth it. But it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. And then at the end of the zip lines, they feed you lunch. And it's all done by locals, local food. And then that's where we got to meet the owner.
Yeah, we met the owner, Daniel, and he was telling us about they were from Germany, correct?
Yeah.
And how his father came and opened up this company way back when, and it's been passed down, and now he's taking it over. So it's a great company, and we got that local experience, the local food, and they had us back on time with no problems. We got back to the port, I believe it was like 3:45, and our all aboard was 4:30.
Well, it sounds like a great day in
Yeah.
Puerto Plata. Your next stop is one of my favorite stops that I've done twice now, San Juan, Puerto Rico. How was your day in San Juan, and what did you end up doing here for the day?
San Juan, we love San Juan. I especially love the architecture and how colonial it is. We waited until the kids woke up and then we went with the kids, right?
Yeah, we waited.
Yeah.
So on Puerto Rico, we grabbed some breakfast, and we waited till the kids woke up, and then we
slide down.
So we actually took the dry slide.
Yeah.
And we took that. We ate breakfast, took the dry slide down, and then we began our day in Puerto Rico. There's an amazing, so when you're there you have to have mofongo, right? So there's an amazing restaurant, Cafe
Manolin. Yeah.
And it had some great I had steak, you had chicken.
Yeah.
I had rice.
She had the rice.
The rice queen.
Yeah. So that's one of our typical things we do when we get there. And then I believe his name is Jerry's the manager. So if you go there, you have to ask Jerry to see his fork trick. He has an amazing little levitation fork trick he does.
Okay.
So it's definitely a fun time and some great food. And then
on our way back,
Jessica actually wanted some coffee afterwards, so we headed to Cocoa Bar. You can talk about that. That's
it was our second time in Cocoa Bar. They make some amazing local coffee and chocolates, and I just loved the first time I was there. And it was called Choco Coffee or something along those lines. It's essentially a mocha with like a bunch of like thick chocolate at the bottom, but it's delicious. We basically go there and we just make our own food tour on the island. Unguided food tour. We just eat around the island.
That's awesome. I mean, the food is really, really good there. So you're doing it right, I think. And once you do the forts and stuff, like you're kind of like, all right, I've seen that, done that. That's kind of like the first thing when you go to San Juan, you see the incredible forts. I feel like once you do that, always good to get like great food because they have great food in San Juan. A lot of ports in the Caribbean don't have great food, but San Juan is one of those stops where you got to try it.
And the city's just so walkable too.
Yeah, you can easily just walk around. You don't even have to get in a taxi, which is so nice.
And we find that San Juan is one of those ports where you can really feel like the local flair, the local flavor. And there were a lot of artisans and artists. And Hailey really enjoyed looking at the galleries and seeing all the local prints.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then typically on our way back, we'll let Hailey explain, but there's we make one more stop on the way back to the ship.
Yeah, so there's a CVS that's like right out of the port, and we usually go there and get like a couple like snacks and drinks because we don't get the like drink beverage, and they allow you to bring them on as long as it's in a full pack of it, like of a drink that you want.
Yeah, that's another great tip there. I know I've been in that CVS, I think both my stops there in Puerto Rico, and gotten snacks too.
That is a really good tip. I don't think we've ever talked about that on the podcast. So great job, Hailey, bringing the tips to the listeners.
Well, and now that's a really good spot because, like we talked about, this has 3 sea days. So if you did forget something or if there's something you needed, Puerto Rico is the great a great spot to grab whatever you need without paying crazy tourist prices.
And the nice thing too, all right, one last thing with San Juan is that you are in the U.S., right? Like technically it is a U.S. territory. So the part of that too just feels safe, versus being in a true foreign country. Not saying that some of them aren't safe, but it is nice that you're like, I'm in America. Like I'm literally, it's a territory of the United States versus some of these other places. You go to Mexico, completely different vibe. I love Mexico, but it's different than being in a U.S. territory. So that's something nice about Puerto Rico as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's no safety concerns at all there. I mean, it's the same as being any big city in the
I
U.S.
think also it's more of like if I'm bilingual, so I honestly feel really comfortable whenever we go to some of those Spanish speaking ports. And I noticed that some people feel nervous because people are trying to communicate with them and they don't really understand the culture, they don't understand how forward they are. But yeah, like Puerto Rico, it's more in line with American culture, so it makes everybody feel a little bit more comfortable.
All right, so y'all's last stop now is Ocean Cay. My seashore sailing, we actually did an overnight here and had about 2 full days here at Ocean Cay. How did you guys spend your time at Ocean Cay? I'm guessing since you've done MSC in the past, you've probably stopped here many times in the past. How was your day here at Ocean Cay?
We have. This time, Ed and I woke up early and went out for a nice walk. As you know, Ocean Cay was man-made, and they built all these beautiful trails around the island. So we just took the time to like see what was new, and we did notice that a lot of the construction was finished. A lot of the workers' dorms seemed completely finished, and the coral nursery, all the tanks were there. It seemed like the lab was ready to open. So I'm really looking forward to when that is open so that we can do, hopefully they have some kind of tour. I'm assuming that they will. What else? Oh, something new that we saw was the photo op by the lighthouse. Remember that little boat?
Oh yeah, so
The door?
they put like an Ocean Key boat on the beach. It used to be over by a different area, but it was kind of in a construction area. But they moved it on the beach right in front of where World America docks. So there's a great photo op there, and they finished some of the construction, like the second food area has been completed. So now they had 2 food areas running
Oh, nice.
on the island. Yeah, and the new island they're building. I mean, it's really shaping up. You can see the form of the island forming, and they were telling us about how they're going to be using it for like yacht club guests and some other ideas. And they were saying how I don't know if it's true or how correct the information is, but basically they're going to build a T dock that's going to give access to both of the islands.
I know someone was saying that they might be using that for Explora as well, which is like one of their sister luxury brands. So we'll have to see or maybe that's another island, but they will have an island that they use for their luxury brand Explora journeys as well, which would be cool.
Yeah, we heard the same thing as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, last night I just saw, I think they posted a little drone video on their Instagram showing off that new conservation area, kind of showing that it's open now. So it'll be cool to see what they end up doing there for guests. And then where exactly on the island is the second buffet? Because I know when I was last there, like you said, there's a lot of construction going on, but I couldn't tell exactly where it was going.
Yeah, so if you're going through the island, you kind of come out of the ship, you keep going straight, and the pathway leads past the little shops. And then there's the lagoon area, and you have your first buffet on the left side.
Yeah.
So if you would continue to the left towards where you go to the spa, to the left, and then circle around towards the lighthouse. The second buffet area is over on that side of the island, so the left side of the island.
All right, so I guess that buffet is kind of more for the people that are kind of like on the beach facing the ship, and then like kind of like you said, the lighthouse.
Yeah,
side of the beach.
It would be more for that area over there.
Cool. Well, glad to see that's open. I didn't know what the progress was on that. And then even the dorms too, kind of being finished up now. It sounds like most all the construction's kind of almost done at this point for now. Like you said, besides working on the next island.
Yeah, and they're putting the final touches on. We saw them watering all the grass and putting the sod down.
Oh yeah.
So they're in the beautification portion of the
I'm
island.
sure, the basics of the island are already there, and I'm sure as time goes by, they will continue to just add on to it. But I guess my advice for people is to, if you go, don't just stay in one place. Just take the trails and walk around, because there's tons of little things to see. Like I love walking by the rocky area and seeing all the rock stacks that people do, because sometimes they get pretty big. That's close to
By the lighthouse.
yeah.
Now, you guys have probably been to some of the other private islands. I'm just curious, how does this one stack up against the other private destinations that you've been to for cruise lines?
Oh, it's a completely different vibe.
I think we all probably, if you asked all three of us, we have completely different views. I know I love it. Jessica loves it. It's nature. Now, if we ask Hailey, let's get her opinion on that. What do you think of the island?
Well, it's not my favorite because like there's just like a bunch of beaches and pools, and I
The
prefer
pools.
no,
Yeah, not on
No
this one.
pool. Yeah, there's
Just
beaches
beaches.
in a while.
but there's like a bunch of beaches, and I prefer just to stay on the ship and do like the water slides and ropes course when like nobody else is there.
That's what they did this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they on Ocean Key, they typically stay on the boat. We go out, have a little walk. So it's a completely different experience from, say, like Coco Cay. You
They
know,
love Coco Cay.
yeah, you have, the water slides and the pools and all that. And here it's more nature, enjoy the beach, relax, chill. It's walk around. They do we haven't done it, but they do the 5K. So if you're an early riser, they do a 5K around the island
Oh yeah, the
to
That's
support
awesome.
Yeah.
to support the MSC Foundation. So they give you a
Okay.
shirt, and then all the money they raise as a donation for saving the coral.
That's really cool. I love that. I think that's a really cool idea. Thanks, Hailey, for your expert opinion too, because I think we've never had anyone This is our first time having a teenager on the podcast,
Yeah.
so your perspective is just as valuable for those that are parents of teenagers that are listening. It is helpful to know, what does that day look like, and thank you for giving that as well.
And I think we're kind of spoiled because, like, we're in South Florida. We're 10 minutes from the beach. So I think if you have kids and you're not from a warm climate, they're gonna love the island. They're gonna love the beaches.
All right, so now let's dive into the World America ship. So you had 3 full sea days on this itinerary. What did a typical sea day look like for you guys? And did you kind of have a plan for the sea days, or just kind of go with the flow when you were on board this ship?
Well, depends who you ask. For the adults, what we love about cruises is that we get into this nice rhythm. We wake up, we go have coffee, we go to the gym. There's actually a lot of people at the gym, and they have a pretty nice gym. And then we went to the spa, and we have a funny story about the spa, but we'll save that for a little later. By the time we're done with the spa, we go pick up the kids, and that's around noon. So their day starts at noon. What happens then?
And then we usually go to the buffet and like get something to eat and kind of like relax around the ship and do like water slides. We went to the gelato shop a lot since like we
Okay.
were showing off our magic tricks to them and teaching them some stuff.
For some background, the kids learn a few magic tricks with one of the magicians from one of the cruises that we met before.
Yeah, so we were on Margaritaville the month before for spring break, and they met this. The magician was on board. He did a show. We wound up meeting him. His name was Sean Ridgway. So, like, shout out to him. He's useless talent guy on Instagram, but this guy's amazing. And I met him afterwards. I said, hey, do you think we're all into magic. Can you show the kids a couple tricks? Well, he's become a mentor to them, and they have now become mini wizards. So they were the entertainment of the gelato shop and of the World America for a lot of this cruise.
Yeah, so the kids spend a ton of time in that gelato shop. And what's the other restaurant you like?
Oh, they have like right next to it was like a little mini buffet for like that's open till like 2 a.m. and they have like chicken tenders and stuff.
Yeah, so that's one addition that on the World America is awesome. The pizza burger
Yeah.
bar that they put on, and that's right next to the gelato shop. So yeah, on our sea days, we kind of roamed around, took advantage of the ship, and relaxed. And we met some. I think your cruises can a lot of times be made super special by just making a connection with like one or two of the employees. And in the gelato shop, we had Jonas and Gary. They were amazing.
Yeah.
And they really just they can make your trip seem 10 times better just by how friendly.
Yeah, the girls were great too. We didn't catch their
Yeah.
names. Yeah.
Haley, did you use like the kids clubs or the arcades or any like that type of stuff on the ship?
So I didn't use the kids club. I went into the arcade and like looked around and realized that there was like some good games compared to the other cruises, and I feel like there was more, and they were pretty cheap prices too. I know in the pizza and burger place they had like pinball tables and stuff, and they had good prizes too up at the other arcades. They have 2 arcades.
Nice. I think that's a question we're getting a lot right now is kind of just the how much stuff there is on the ship for kids at the end of the day. Like we had one client who I think I think they're doing the carnival celebration now, but they were asking us about the World America and how they felt, how we felt the experience was for kids. So did you feel like you had a great time on the ship overall with all the stuff you could do?
Yeah, I feel like there was like a lot of stuff to do. Like compared to some other cruises, they have like just a couple water slides and then like maybe like mini golf or something. And I feel like this one had like a lot more options for stuff to do for kids.
Do you want to give the kids a tip on how to order in the main dining room?
Well, I feel like in the main dining room they have like a lot of good options, but I feel like you can also they have the kids menu, but my favorite was the grilled chicken, and I feel like that was like a
Okay.
really good like simple item that kids would probably like.
No, no, no. But let's dig a little deeper. So Haley has a very particular picky taste, and she really loves potatoes. So when she orders, what is it that you order as an appetizer?
I get a side of mashed potatoes for
Okay.
my appetizer.
Okay.
I like that.
So if kids want to order French fries or mashed potatoes as an appetizer, they can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're super accommodating. And then also for kids, they have foosball, and for adults, because we wind up playing a lot too. They have foosball and ping pong in the indoor garden pool. So they have
Okay.
that as well
Okay.
for the kids.
Now, Haley, you said you spent a lot of time doing the water slides on the ship. What did you think of the water slides and the ropes course?
So for the water slides, they have a drop slide, they have a like twin racing slide, and they also have like a VR slide. And for the VR slide, I feel like it was really fun, but for when you put on the VR, it doesn't really follow like when you're going on the slide. So you have to like look around to find like what is going on. And for the
Okay.
drop slide, it's really fun. It has like a countdown to do it. So when you go down, you just go down and then you do like a little spin. You can like look around. Sometimes it has like an open part. And for the twin one, you can when you go down, you're able to like see the other person while you're going down, and it times it,
That
so
was
you're
Yeah.
able to like really know who won.
So by the time you get down to the bottom of the slide, you turn around and you can see your time compared to your friend's time and see who won.
Did you end up doing the ropes course or did you skip that one?
Yeah, we did the ropes course. It has like a lot more compared to like other ones, and like they have this little boardwalk where you can like walk out and like ring a bell over like the other stuff, and you
What about the part where it
The-
seems like you're gonna fall, but
That-
it's designed to
that's
do
the
that?
bell.
Yeah.
And then
Explain that
Yeah,
thing, what it does. That's pretty cool.
so it's like this little boardwalk, and when you're walking out, all of a sudden like a piece of the boardwalk like falls down, kind of. So it like jump scares you.
It doesn't really fall down.
But,
It's designed to tip down and scare you, but it's obviously again totally per design.
Yeah.
Totally safe.
And then there's a couple zip lines in the ropes course too, right?
Yeah, the zip lines go around to get to the other parts of the ropes course, and you kind of get stuck in the middle of it, but you still keep going. And once you get there, you are able to reach like the other ropes courts of it.
The other section.
Yeah.
What about the swing? Did you do the swing?
The swing was really fun. We got to do it when we were at Ocean Cay, and we got to see like all of the land, and it's a really good thing to do.
How can we forget to ask about that?
No, that's where I was going next. I knew what I was going to ask.
Yeah, the swing's awesome, and it's not expensive. You know, they charge what, $5.
Yeah.
So it's something that you have to do.
That was one thing when I saw the pricing they announced for that and the bumper cars. I expected the swing to cost more, and then they said like the swing was only $5, and I think the bumper cars were $7. Did you end up doing the bumper cars or no?
Oh, we did. Yeah.
You did.
There was a sale the night that we did it.
Yeah, so
Okay.
so every day in the agenda or the calendar, they run sales on certain things. So like
Nice.
the bumper cars, normally they're $7 per car, and they had them on sale on whatever it was, a C day for $5. And like the same with
Okay.
the swing. It's normally this, but sometimes they run specials.
The
Nice.
one thing that we were very excited about and looking forward to that didn't happen was the Drone Academy.
Oh yeah, they hyped that up a lot on the on like the teaser videos and stuff, and it was not to be found on the ship. So in the sports complex, the multi-use complex, they were supposed to have the Drone Academy where you would fly these VR drones through hoops and all that kind of stuff, and that never happened.
Huh. I wonder if they're still kind of finishing up the touches on that, or if it just got completely cut for now.
Yeah, we think that there were quite a few things that were still in the process of bringing in. Like we were also very excited about the magician.
Yeah, so there was supposed to be a big stage production magic show by CJ Illusions, and the magician was actually on board. We were talking with him, but he said the producers were not on board for another, I think he said 2 weeks. So
Okay.
that show never took place as
Yeah,
well.
it seems like they're running the sailings, but they're still rolling out some of the
Some of
things
the
that
items.
they're promoting.
And that's a good thing to note too. With as a cruise ship's new, I mean, they're still trying to get these things implemented and added to the ship and kind of tested and rehearsed and all that. So if you are kind of on these first few sailings for however long, you may not get everything
The
yet.
full experience. It's funny because I mean, it's a pretty complicated operation, right? You're serving to what, 6,000 people. And one of the interesting things we saw when we were discussing this amongst each other was that in other ships, we find that the staff is a lot friendlier. And we did find some very friendly staff members, but it seems like a lot of them were very concentrated on like serving properly, which kind of didn't give space for like the humanity of the service and the connection.
Yeah.
So we think that they were just like really trying to get their job done versus connecting with the guests, which is
Like
understandable.
robotic, like basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, sometimes, we've been on again a lot of cruises, so you'll have the waiter and he'll come up and he'll be joking, and maybe he'll tell you where he's from or ask where you're from, or just to make that connection. And kind of on this, like Jessica said, the staff was okay. We have a job to do, and we want to do it good, and that's kind of what we're focused on right
And
now.
I think they're very excited to be in that ship,
Yeah,
and they
for
want
sure.
to keep that job. So the basics
Yeah.
first, right? Let's get the service right.
You guys talked about a lot of different venues and activities. Curious to know how the crowds felt. You mentioned 6,000 guests and how it felt compared to like some of the other, if you've been on an Oasis class or one of the bigger Carnival, like the bigger MSC ships you've been on in the past. How did the crowd dispersion feel on board the World America? Or did it feel like there were areas that just felt super congested compared to kind of what you've seen in the past?
Yeah, that's a really good question. They did a really good job at distributing areas of concentration. Like they had 2 buffets that were open at similar times. Sometimes they will close one when it was too busy and then direct people to the other area. The pools never really felt really crowded.
Yeah,
Anything else?
they did a really good job. Like typically on other cruise lines, I mean, you try to go to a pool or you try to go to a hot tub on a sea day, and it's like you're lucky if you can squeeze into a hot tub. And they did a really good job. I mean, there was tons of pools. The main pool was huge, and there was always room. Like the only thing that got really congested was the buffet. But again, you had 2 buffets. So if it was too crowded, you can go to the one upstairs on deck 19.
But that was only at peak hours.
Yeah,
which I
peak
guess
hours.
it's
They did a good job too with how they run the shows. So they have the main World Theater, and then they have I believe it's called the Panorama Theater,
oh yeah.
and they ran shows roughly at the same time. There might have been like a half an hour difference, but it dispersed the crowds all throughout the ship rather than everybody being congregated in one area. So it was, I think they did a great job. And this was the first ship that we actually used the elevators on. They were actually like, you didn't have to wait. They actually got you to your floor.
Yeah.
And they actually, I mean, a great job on the elevators.
And they had the system where you punched your floor number before you get in the elevator, so that had a few people confused, but they ran really, really well.
All right, well, let's focus on food next. Like you said, you've talked about kind of the different buffets on the ship. We've talked about like the burger and pizza bar.
Yes.
What did you guys think about the food on the ship? I know going into my first sailing, obviously, was kind of still a concern with some cruisers, but I ended up really enjoying the food on the seashore. I liked a lot more like the international options they had, like in the buffets. So where did you guys find yourself eating throughout your time here on the ship?
You're gonna love this one too. We actually really love the food from MSC because it's got that European flair. Have you ever had the pasta in the ship?
I think I had a little bit of pasta from the buffets. I don't think I ever ordered it in the main dining room.
Okay, well, you want to have it in the buffet because that's really good fresh pasta. And I think was it last time that we noticed that it's MSC, so there's a lot of Italians in there. So we started noticing that the Italians were congregating in the pasta section. So that gave us a clue that the pasta was really good. And they did tell us it was very special pasta. And then we tried it, and then I had pasta basically every day after that because it was so delicious, al dente. You said it was brought from Italy or made in the ship?
Yeah, they had make the pasta, and a couple of nights they actually had the officers making fresh pasta.
Oh my God,
So-
yes.
so
They
I
turned
think-
it into a party. Sorry.
Yeah, like
They
3 nights.
turn up the music, they come out, they start singing and dancing and just calling in the guests, and they make the pasta for the guests. It's really, really fun. But our routine was basically having food in the buffet every day, and then the main dining, and then we had a specialty dining restaurant experience once.
Yeah, and as far as the main dining room, so we were joking that we got put in timeout because
Oh yeah.
our
Oh,
our
no.
first table, and so how the dining rooms work is they separate it into multiple smaller dining rooms. So there's not one big like grand dining room. So there's I think hexagon, and I'm forgetting the name.
No, no, in
So
Italian.
there's a bunch of different smaller main dining rooms, and there's a big open area of ours, and then there was like kind of a hallway with about, I don't know, 10, 15 more tables. So the original table we got was basically a table staring at a wall in the corner. And so we got put in timeout, but they did a great job. Like I just asked the restaurant manager. I said, hey, is there anything you can do? So they told us just come when the dining room closes every night at 6:15, and he'll give us an open table.
So the takeaway is, if you don't like your table, just come back after everybody who's made a reservation. Supposedly it's inside because people typically cancel or they have different plans, and if there's a table open, they will assign it to you.
Yeah, so they moved us to basically a table by the window looking out the ocean. So it was amazing. But the initial table, there's some, with the way those dining rooms are set up, there's a block of tables that really aren't the best seating options.
They need to look at your status and be like, this dude's diamond. Like, let's put, like, I honestly feel like if you're going to keep loyal customers, that's the way I would do it if I was running a business. I don't know. That's just me personally. But maybe they're like, we already got Ed on the lock. Let's give him like the corner table because we don't need to win him over anymore.
Right. And that's what I said. I'm like, it's funny because so when you're a diamond, when they walk you through, I don't know. I mean, but they kind of let people know you're a diamond, like the other wait staff. So it's funny. And then they walked us through and put us at this table facing a wall, you know. So, but yeah, I agree with you. Like they know you're a diamond, so you think they would give you one of the window tables, you know.
Now, you said you did do specialty dining. I know this ship has some new specialty dining like Paxos and Italy. Where did you end up doing either one of those, or did you do the steakhouse or teppanyaki?
Yeah, we're a bunch of carnivores, so we did Butcher's Cut. That's one of
Nice.
our favorites. It's above the World Galleria, and it's I believe they call it the terraces where they have the restaurants now.
Okay.
So super nice. They so one thing I noticed is they changed the menus a little bit. They no longer have my favorite item.
He's
Like
offended
Uh
because
oh.
they don't have his favorite side.
but so the menu has changed a little bit between Butcher's Cut on Seascape and Butcher's Cut on World America. So like they don't have the cream corn anymore. They don't have the goat cheese salad. So a lot of their staple items they took off on World America.
And then
Interesting.
Haley, what was your favorite item that you actually went off hours and made friends just to get it on the side?
So they have really, really good maple butter. Very yummy.
Yeah, the bread is amazing and the spreads are amazing. The steak is definitely way above like what they serve in regular dining if anybody's asking.
Yeah, so the we had the fillets, and of course, it's always a great meal in Butcher's Cut. But I think you have to be so Butcher's Cut, amazing, especially restaurants, amazing. In the main dining room, it can be hit or miss. So
Yeah.
if you order a steak, it doesn't really matter how you order it. Like you can order it well done, you can order it medium. You're gonna get kind of the luck of the draw, and we
Really?
and yeah, we just kind of became okay with that, just because we've been on so many. Now, if you want, of course, you can send it back and ask for another one.
Yeah.
But you know, you're gonna get something between medium and well done. You just don't ever know what you're gonna get.
And again, to me, it's amazing that they're able to serve so many people and actually get the order right, and do it with a smile. So we're a little bit flexible in that area.
But again, everybody has different tastes. So like our son, he said the standard steak, the strip steak that comes in the main dining room, he said that was the best steak he's had on any like in the main dining rooms on any of the cruise ships. So but again, he knew however he ordered it, it would just come out however they were serving it. Like there was no rhyme or reason.
But you're saying Butcher's Cut, they definitely lock in. Like if you order medium on in Butcher's Cut, you're gonna get it versus like the dining room is. And yeah, I feel like that's pretty. I would say that's on par from what I've seen for like the steakhouses usually are. They're cooking for a much smaller audience, like maybe 50 people in there versus to your point, 1,000 steaks at once. It's remarkable that you even get a steak at that point.
Yeah. And yeah, but I mean, Butcher's Cut is on par with any landside, steakhouse you go to, top quality. They cook it to perfection. Like it was an amazing meal.
Did they end up adding new stuff to the menu, or did you feel like they kind of scaled it back a little, like you said, compared to what you saw on the seashore?
They scaled it back. They took and I talked to the waiter about that. He said, yeah, they took a few items off, but they did scale it back.
Gotcha.
All right, so you kind of talked to us a little bit about some spa things that happened, but let's talk about add-ons, right? A big part of the cruise experience is, your drink packages. Obviously, you guys talked about specialty dining, but your spa, your Wi-Fi package. Did you guys add on any of these things? And if so, how was your experience with that?
We did. And we had the Wi-Fi added and we had the spa package added. And we had a little bit of a rough patch with both of them. So for us, we like to, like I mentioned, wake up, have our coffee, go work out a sweat, and then we love going to the spa. So we go to the sauna, we get a little sweaty. We go to the steam room, you're still sweaty. You get into the ice room, and that's a lot of fun. So now you've baked in that healthy sweat, and you go to the spa and you want to take a nice shower, and we go take a shower and look for the soap, and there's no soap to be found. And we call the attendant and we ask for soap, and they basically tell us that they don't supply soap in the spa, which is a shock for us, at least for the first day. So the spa amenities are beautiful. I think that they were great, but we don't understand why they won't supply soap in a brand new ship for a spa experience. Um,
Yeah, because I mean, so on all the other ships like Seascape, Seashore, in the spa, you can shower and be ready to start your day. So it was funny because this is their flagship, new ship, and they're saying, okay, well, I don't know, you have to leave smelly, I guess.
no, bring your own soap. Bring your own soap.
Yeah, bring.
Yeah,
So,
they don't make any excuses. They basically tell you that they don't supply the soap, which is really interesting because there's showers in there.
yeah, and they do it on every other ship. So
I get the ones where it's like I've done the tour of it, so I've seen like the rain shower, right? Where you're not really showering there, you're just rinsing off because it's open. You're not like taking your clothes off. Like, I mean, those types of showers, I've seen those. Are you referring to like private showers, or are you referring to
private showers, like showers in the locker room?
Yeah, the showers in the locker room for changing. Because typically we would do the spa, shower, and then begin our day on the ship, go have lunch, do whatever we would do.
But I don't know. I mean, just let people decide if that matters to them or if that doesn't matter to them. But on our end, we thought the spa, other than that, was great, right? They had that really big.
So yeah, a couple things. If you're gonna book the spa package or the thermal spa package, definitely do it ahead of time because I believe it was $140 a person when we pre-booked, and on board it was close to $300 a person.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
So it was because when I went, I asked because Diamonds get a discount. They get, I believe it's 20%. So I'm like, well, would I have been better booking it on board with the discount? They're like, no, it's $300. Another interesting thing is also on board, you pay gratuity on the package. So you're way better off booking it online.
That's $300 is crazy. I was looking at ours for Alaska, not the same because I know that MSC has a really beautiful. They have like extra salt rooms and stuff, so not the same. But like on ours it was $111, and I was like, man, do I really want to pay for that? But
then I started looking what our ship has, and it ain't nearly as much.
It's just like sauna, steam, showers, and the beds, the loungers. It doesn't have like the salt or like a snow room,
like the hot tub.
I don't think there's a hot tub, so like you're not paying for as much. But 300 is like, that seems a lot.
And then a couple things like, so the spa compared again to the Seascape, which we've been on a lot. So the main hot tub area in the spa, super cool. They have some loungers you can lay down. They have like a rain shower. But they only have one little tiny area that could fit maybe 3 people that you can sit down, and it has the bubbles and all. So it's the whole hot tub area. It's not very usable.
It's like those small little like dunk tanks. And I was seeing some people said it wasn't really even hot. It was like kind of like cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you guys used those at all.
Oh, that was a separate area. They had an area where you walk through. There's like a hot, a cold, a hot, a cold. So basically, it's a little puddle like 2 feet deep. You step into it, it's hot. Then you step into the next one, it's cold, it's hot, and you go in this like little circle. So I guess it's for circulation.
I liked it. I think it's pretty good for people who I don't know, are walking a lot or need to like get some relief in their feet. It's like a fun thing to do.
But overall, the spa was nice. The snow room was great. The saunas were great.
The snow room was the coldest we've seen.
Yeah,
out of all,
it was definitely cold.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the Wi-Fi. You said you guys experienced some issues with the Wi-Fi. Was it just connecting, or was it switching devices? Or were you trying to post something, or what were some of your issues with the Wi-Fi?
Do you want me to talk about it? Okay. Well, I wasn't there. This was when Ed was doing his little walkthrough and we were resting. But I guess he spoke to a staff member and he wanted to make sure, because we needed the Wi-Fi. The kids needed to do some schoolwork. And I needed to do some schoolwork. So he wanted to confirm that we could switch devices with the Wi-Fi. And whoever he spoke to said that, yes, he was allowed. So he installed the Wi-Fi on his phone, thinking that he will be able to switch it later for the other devices that we would need. Turns out that's not possible. So make sure that if you select the Wi-Fi package, you're only going to be able to use it in one device. So install it in the device that you're going to use, no matter who tells you. So then we go talk to another staff member in the actually Wi-Fi section. Mm-hmm. And they gave us a little bit of a pushback because Ed had spoken to somebody who was not in their department, which is a little confusing from the point of view from the guest, because you're assuming, I guess we shouldn't assume, but you are assuming that whoever you're talking to, if they're talking to you with conviction, are telling you something that has been, already verified. So it took a little bit of back and forth for us to actually get the Wi-Fi switched to our desired device, but they were not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I had to get pretty
Persistent
with, the guy said, oh, can't be switched, like whatever device you log on, that's it. He said you can buy another package. I said, well, I'm not buying another $150 Wi-Fi package. So it took about a half an hour of being persistent and basically saying I'm not leaving until a manager or someone comes out here to get that switched.
And
That's crazy.
Yeah, and we would say that the takeaway is we love MSC. We really love MSC, but we've noticed that MSC is great when everything goes well, but when there's a little bit of a problem, it's not the same level of care to the guests as another company would give. And it might come with also, again, the fact that you're running a huge operation and you might want to just continue to run the operation without deviating for one person.
Yeah.
No, but you guys have also been on 25 cruises. You have a level of expectation of this is how I deserve to get treated. At the end of the day, I'm spending several $1,000s to take my family on this trip. I know that this is how I've been treated on other cruise lines. Like MSC needs to get it up a little notch, to be able to provide a similar experience. Like they're competing with these other lines that you mentioned earlier. So I would expect that, to your point, Ed, this is what you guys need to do. I'm not paying. There's no reason why I need to, pay an extra $150 when I'm having still one device connected. It's just a different device. I would be furious.
It was just the fact that I was given misinformation by an MSC employee. So if I would have just connected my phone and made the mistake, I'm like, oh man, I did, whatever. But he said, no, you can switch. So that was the point. I just said, hey, I was given the wrong information, and their answer was basically, sorry to hear that, buy another package. So I was like, nope, that's not not the acceptable answer. Yeah. But half an hour later, we got it corrected and moved on. But I think it seems like a lot of things, MSC's philosophy is if everything's going great, the cruise is amazing. If you have a problem,
it's not their problem.
It's not really their problem. You need to figure it out.
Yeah, we had a joke for the rest of the trip, because when we asked we were in the spa and we were asking the attendant if they had soap. They said, yeah, no, which was very confusing. You're like, wait, yeah, but no. So anything that we wanted moving forward was, yeah, no. Yeah, no.
Yeah, awesome. Can we switch the Wi-Fi? Yeah, no.
Okay, which one is it?
So, but yeah, it was that was the two packages that we did purchase. And again, my recommendation is whatever you're gonna buy,
make sure that you're speaking to the right person, right?
But do it ahead of time as well.
Oh, that's too.
For the savings.
And we've seen this so many times in the news that people think that they're following the rules, they're doing the right thing, and then they get hit with this crazy bill for I don't know, a phone charge or something along those lines. So it's really important that people really do their research.
Yeah, and just you were talking about additional packages. We didn't get it, but we were gonna. The photo package. So again, if you're gonna do that, do it ahead of time. I believe it was $140, and you got all your pictures if you chose to. And on board, it was $299. So there's a big difference between the pre-booking prices and the onboard prices.
All right, well, let's move into entertainment now in the evenings. I know you kind of already talked about The Magician, not be able to see that, but were you able to catch any other shows around the ship or live music or comedy? And if so, how did you enjoy them?
Oh, yeah, we catch as many shows as we could. The kids love the show. So we typically, and that's part of why we get an early dining time, because that puts us right on the heels of the first show. So we watched, what was it, All Stars?
We had Dirty Dancing.
Oh, that was a lot of
flagship shows.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame, I believe, was the other one. and then they had comedians.
The Freddie Mercury.
Yeah. So, so yeah, you can talk about, I guess, what was your favorite show, Hailey?
I really liked the comedy, and there was like this acrobats one that was really good.
Oh yeah. The comedy was actually really great because they had two comedians in one show, which give
Okay.
people a little bit of variety. And for us, comedians have been hit or miss, and also we also know that it's a really hard job to be a comedian in a ship. But both of them were excellent. They were hilarious. So I would definitely say go to that. And then the acrobats were also excellent. I think that they mentioned that they had done Cirque du Soleil. So it was a
Okay.
really nicely produced show. They're very, very skilled. All Stars.
Hall of Fame. So I think Hall of Fame was one of my personal favorites. I mean, the singers were amazing. Bunch of dancing, bunch of props on stage. Like in the past, I think MSC, their shows have been kind of the same thing. Like some singers on stage, they fall in love, they break up, they fall in love again, and then it was like the same theme and the same kind of setup. But the World America gave a huge variety of shows, and they actually put some time and money into the production. So Hall of Fame was amazing.
Oh, Hall of Fame was. I don't want to hype it up too much, but the girl that does Whitney Houston is out of control. She had everybody out of their seat. And also the songs were relatively, I guess, what I laughed because Hailey was explaining to her brother that the songs were from old singers. Her, Whitney Houston, Beyonce.
Beyonce.
I know. And I'm like, oh my God, I feel so old. But they're not like your typical like 70s ABBA songs. They're songs that are more contemporary with us. What else? Oh, we love the theater in was it the back of the ship?
So yeah, so they spread the entertainment up between the World Theater and the Panorama. So the one in the back of the ship, that's where they had the Queen show. And so the Queen show, the only thing, so they hyped up, they had an orchestra, right? And the orchestra was a virtual orchestra. So they played this virtual orchestra, and they kind of did a big hype about it at the beginning of the show. But to me it was kind of a miss. I mean, you didn't really hear it, so I think they could have did something better with that part of the show.
Yeah, I think that the orchestra part was orchestra was another one of those like things that they hype, but it kind of fell flat when you were actually in the show. It's Queen, so it's such a classic. We're gonna love the show no matter what, and we did love the show. The performers were just giving their all. I was personally offended because there was nobody that was wearing skinny white jeans and a thick mustache. I was expecting, but I think that it was a good show.
Yeah, and the kids were laughing because during the show, they were trying to get the audience involved in singing, and the audience wasn't really like
they weren't participating.
Yeah, they weren't participating the way the singers wanted it. So, but it was a really good show.
Oh, but the theater is beautiful. They have this LED screens on the floor, so
wow,
they can project whatever they want in there. And sometimes it seemed like it was the ocean underneath or fish underneath. So that was really beautiful.
Well, the shows definitely sound like a step up from the seashore and the seascape and all that. And how about, did y'all get to interact with Dr. E at all? I know he's the cruise director on the ship. Frank and I loved him on Carnival years ago. So I'm excited that he's kind of their head cruise director now. What did y'all think of him?
Oh my God, he woke us up every day singing.
Yeah.
Very good morning.
I don't think she was really happy because she was hoping to sleep a little longer.
Yeah, he was awesome. He kept the energy super high. He's a great singer, and he always had some great jokes. And the kids actually, when you look at their Instagram, we'll put those videos on there. They did some magic for Dr. E. So yeah, we got to interact with him a lot, and he's really great. He brings a great vibe to World America. So for entertainment, they also, which I thought was it was a good and bad. So I often feel like MSC does something great, but then they drop the ball somewhere, which doesn't give you the overall experience, right? So for example, they had pool tables. They had two pool tables on the ship, brand new ship, right? And I hope they're going to remain free. I just don't know if maybe they didn't have time to put the paid mechanism on them, because on Seascape and other ships they charge for the pool tables, but they had pool tables, but they had no pool sticks, and the one they had was a kid stick, and the tip was knocked off, and they didn't have chalk. So they provided a great service, which you're super psyched about, but then they dropped the ball and they didn't have what you need to play. So again, we brought the issue up to the employees, and it's kind of, well, yeah, we understand, and no, we don't have we don't have any sticks for you. So so that was
So odd.
another one of the entertainment things. So I think they do great things, but then they do these little misses that kind of brings the experience down.
Are the pool tables in the new sports bar?
No, they're not. They're actually in Masters of the actually. So the gin, they're upstairs of Masters of the Sea, so they're in the gin project. I believe that's the
Okay.
name of the bar, and then the other one is in the Panorama Lounge.
Okay. I was about to say both the Gin Project and Master of the Seas look like beautiful venues on the ship. Were you in them at all?
Yeah, the Masters of the Seas is really nice. We actually we were using it to do a little work because it's not open in the like morning or the early afternoon. It opens a little bit later, so it's a great spot if you need to do some work. You can plug your laptop in. And it's a quiet spot to get some work done. And then at night, it gets crazy, live music, and just a bunch of things going on there. It's a beautiful, like all wood, and it looks, just absolutely beautiful.
Did you say that they serve food there?
I think they did, but I can't confirm that. I think they had light bites in Masters of the Seas, but
Okay.
we didn't order.
I think you took us into it well, though. We want to ask a little bit about the ship layout. Obviously, this is a different layout than any of the other MSC ships, and a lot of people joke around that it looks a lot like the Oasis class, and they've gotten some people call it out. What do you think of the ship layout for World America, and do you feel like it's easy to navigate and find venues on board the ship compared to kind of what you've seen in the past?
Yeah, so definitely, we've been on Oasis, and it's definitely a lot like that at the back promenade area, minus the Aqua Theater. But they did a really good job. They have these LED palm tree shows they do, beautiful open space. You get a great view of the wake from the back. And so it's a really good layout in the World Galleria area. Wide open space, a lot of light. They do a lot of their events there. It's a little bit when you're walking across the decks, sometimes you have to switch sides of the ship to get down to the next floor. So there's some spots where it's not continuous front to back. But overall, the layout's good. A little more narrow in some of the spaces that were wider on other ships, but it's because they have the big open World Galleria in the center.
Yeah, it seemed like they prioritized that big open space in the middle and just everywhere, even in the areas where you take the elevators, that also felt very spacious. So yeah, but it's overall it's pretty easy to get around compared to other ships we've been to. Like we went to we were in the Divina,
Davina.
and I could not find my way around for the life of me. But oh my god, I kept getting lost, and people had to continuously help me. But this is still pretty easy.
So, unfortunately, after 7 nights, your cruise finally came to an end. This is the sad part. How was the disembarkation process in Miami compared to what you've seen in the past?
Disembarkation is pretty sad because we realized that our next meal we're gonna have to prepare it, clean it up, etc., etc. But one really interesting thing that we noticed is that up to that day, we had never had any in-cabin announcements. But on that day at 7 a.m., we get a nice wake-up call from the cruise director. Yeah. And he was not singing. For the first time, he was not singing. So they mean business. They want you out of that cabin and going. Elevators are busy, but not as busy as any other cruise ship. I think that you disagree, but I don't think it was as busy.
Yeah, it wasn't as busy, but you kind of have to we were trying to figure out a system to get, like, basically we pushed every up floor, like we pushed like 3 up floors just to try to get on an elevator. You
If
know,
you want to go down, just go up first, stay in the elevator, and then come down.
and they'll eventually go back down, because it's the same way. Like, you select your floor, to go down to 6 to get off, but you also have, you know, 50 other people trying to get on that 6, plus the people that are already in the elevator. So it gets a little busier, but it was not as bad as normal. Like, the elevators are a really good system.
And then getting out of the ship was actually pretty easy. And once you get to Miami, you know you're in Miami because they welcome you with pretty loud announcements. And then after that, well, we get picked up by our designated Uber driver, but
Yeah.
that was pretty easy, right?
Yeah, it was a fairly easy disembarkation. But it's important to note, like, in the new terminal, when you think you're out, you're not really out.
Oh, that's right.
So it's
Okay.
probably a 15-minute walk from when you get off the ship to when you get out of the terminal.
Okay.
So it takes a little bit of time.
All right, overall, I mean, like you said, you have done about 25 cruises now in the past 2 years. How would you stack up this cruise in terms of the service, the dining, the itinerary, and everything you experienced on this cruise to the ones you've done in the past?
Yeah, I think it was great. The ship is absolutely beautiful. There's so much to do. The food is great. Like, everything is great. Again, I think there's little things like MSC does a great job, but then when it could be just absolutely fabulous, they'll drop the ball a little bit, then I'll take it down a notch. So I think if they figure a way of fixing those little things, then the experience becomes absolutely amazing. For the price, it's a lot less than most of the other big ships. So I think if you compare it to like Icon, you're paying a lot less, and especially if you have a family and you're bringing kids on and they're going for free. I mean, I think we did, our balcony cabin for 4 people for under $1,700, which is
Oh my gosh.
like unheard of. Like, so
Yeah.
so at that price level, I would go on it every single time. Now, if that changes, and say we were paying for everybody, and the cost of a week on Seascape and a week on World America, if it's, say, $500 more a person, I don't know. I mean, maybe for a new cruiser that wants to see the biggest and best, but if I can do 2 cruises for the price of one on World America, I might choose to do the 2 on Seascape, just because I love cruising so much. But it's an absolutely amazing experience, and there's nothing wrong with it. I think everyone just needs to find the price point where the additional values are worth it for them. What do you think of the World America?
I think it was a really good cruise for like kids and stuff, and there was a lot of like activities that you could do, and the food is really good. And yeah.
Yeah. I really love the cruise. I think that they're still getting their bearings in some of the things, but like Ed said, I'm willing to overlook that for the right price. MSC just I think it has great food. I already know what to expect from them in terms of service, and I really love it.
Yeah, and as far as the service, if you go in just knowing that it's kind of a European service where, like, they're not the customer in America, the customer's always right. Well,
Yeah.
I don't think they always think that way. They kind of think, okay, well,
As long as everything's right.
as long as everything's still running, we're good, So
Yeah.
so you kind of have to go with a little bit of different expectation, and I think if you do that, the trip's amazing. But if you go in there and it's just one of those difficult things. You have to have a little bit different expectation of some of the service you'll receive.
Any recommendations that the three of you have for anyone like you guys who are planning or considering an MSC or MSC World America cruise in the near future?
My advice, like we talked about before, book everything pre-cruise, because I noticed it's a big dramatic price change between what you buy pre-cruise and what you buy on board. And I've seen that on other ships, but I don't think at that level that I saw on World America.
So, and for me, it's like be flexible, right? Because there's a lot of things that can happen that you're not expecting, that you could miss a port. We've never missed a port yet, but There's a lot of things that could happen and inconveniences that can happen, and just don't let that ruin your trip, because there's so many other wonderful things that are happening at the same time. Like I think one of you said one time, you can have a great cruise and a terrible cruise all at the same time and the same trip.
Hailey, what about you? Anything you'd recommend to any other teens going on World America?
Well, I'd say that like to make sure that if you aren't getting the drink package, I think you are allowed to bring drinks on like in a package, right?
They allowed us from
Yeah,
the port. Yeah.
from the port. Other than that, I don't think I have anything to add.
Yeah. And also, if you're new to MSC, make sure you do the status match because it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great tip.
And what it just came to my mind right now. But one other thing I noticed, as a diamond, you get your diamond gift, which is usually just a little toiletry bag or some kind of gift they give you. But on the last, so it's typically given on the last day. And this was like just another one of the little things. It's like, okay, we're on, I am a diamond. We're on the flagship cruise ship of their line. And I called down, I'm like, hey, by the way, we never got a diamond gift. Are they going to, bring it up? He's like, oh, well, actually, we don't have them on this ship. I'm like, okay. So in the end, he's like, well, come down and I'll get something for you. And, but you're thinking like, hey, they're really trying to make an impression. And then again, they drop the ball on the little things.
Yeah, don't be afraid to ask, and like try to make friends with the staff. And sometimes you're gonna find somebody that's too busy, but most of the times they're gonna be pretty open to talking to you and just making friendships and staying connected, and then that will help you more if you ever come across any inconvenience.
Yeah, I mean that like we said before, the staff can make or break, and you find those couple people that you really get along with, and they make the cruise absolutely amazing.
Well, overall, I mean, those tips were great. Sounds like the sailing was great overall. What's next for y'all? Do y'all have any more cruises on the lineup going forward?
Yeah, I think we have 6 booked already for the remainder of the year.
Okay.
Coming up, we have Norwegian Gem in June. And then our birthday cruise, we're doing Margaritaville Islander out of Tampa. And then we have World America again booked for spring break of next year. So we're excited to get back on it. Again, even with all the little problems, it's an amazing cruise. So nice. And it's just, I mean, there's never a complaint of being on such a beautiful ship.
Well, here's the deal. We'd love to have you come back on, obviously. So next time you guys get back from a cruise and you want to do something like this, reach out to us. Let us know. And honestly, I feel like you guys are wanting to chat more, so we could always maybe do a live or something where we do something. We just have more of a conversation because this is kind of a shorter forum. So maybe we could talk about that too. I feel like you guys have really, really good perspective and you go on a lot of cruises. So personally, I feel like this will be really valuable to anyone that's listening. And for Michael and I, we just really appreciate you guys taking the time.
No, of course, this was a lot of fun. Thank you guys. Anytime.
We just want to say thanks again to Ed, Jessica, and Hailey for coming on the podcast this week to talk about their recent MSC World America sailing. And like we mentioned last week, Frank, we have our new website. It's now officially live, cruiseconversationspodcast.com. So if you're interested in booking a cruise with us, go check that out. We'll be having that posted in the show notes below.
We have a blog.
Yeah, a blog up on there that you've been writing some posts for, so make sure to go check that out. And then we're also going to post Ed, Jessica, and Hailey's social media handles below in the show notes as well, so make sure to go show them some love and follow them as well. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday.